Hundreds of jobs to be lost in Grand Bahama, the Prime Minister refuting claims of terrorist activity in the country, and a 7th grader armed with a gun during school hours. We've got these stories and others. I'm your host, Nico Scavella, and this is the Tribune's Top 5. Prime Minister Perry Christie this week blasted F&M leader Dr. Hubert Minnis for likening the PLP to a group of drowning men, calling Dr. Minnis a minor player in the House of Assembly who should try his best to keep quiet after having his job as leader of the official opposition taken from him by Long Island MP Loretta Butler Turner.
Mr. Christie, in a scathing rebuke of Dr. Minnis, suggested that the F&M leader has no right to speak ill of the PLP while experiencing real difficulty in coping with being stripped of his post, as well as having lost the support of most of his members in the House of Assembly. Mr. Christie said he expected better from the Killarney MP, but said a naive Dr. Minnis now finds himself in, quote, an impossible position of trying to strike out at people who are sitting and smiling at him. And striking a condescending tone towards Dr. Minnis, Mr. Christie cautioned the F&M leader not to cause him or members of his administration to highlight his shortcomings and inadequacies. Last week, Dr. Minnis criticized the final night of the PLP's National Convention, suggesting that events such as the publicly declared support for Mr. Christie by several former F&M members shows that the PLP was desperate and acting like, quote, drowning men reaching for straws to survive. Dr. Minnis especially criticized the support for Mr. Christie by the former F&M members, which included Algernon Allen, Byron Woodside, Lester Turnquest, Yvonne Ingham, and Anthony Miller, calling the gesture a, quote, replay of 1992 when the PLP was on the verge of defeat. However, Mr. Christie said, and I quote, he should try his best to keep quiet so that we do not highlight the levels of inadequacies and ineffectiveness that is plaguing him. We have tried our best to allow our democracy to flourish. We have not spoken ill of him, even though from a factual point of view we can. I want Dr. Minnis to have a good career, but I will do my best not to have that career flourish at this stage in our country. And so I don't want to be able to say what Dr. Minnis' real difficulty is, because Loretta Butler Turner has taken his job from him. He ought to have seen it coming. I knew it was coming. I even warned him that they've made an effort to go to Government House. But he's so innocent and naive that he allows these things to happen, and then he finds himself in an impossible position of trying to strike out at people who are sitting and smiling at him. And that's what I'm doing. I'm sitting and smiling at him, end quote. Mr. Christie went on to suggest that Dr. Minnis' comments regarding the former F&M members that now support the PLP were ill-advised, as he argued that what took place during the final night of the convention was something to be expected in a democracy, particularly leading up to a general election. Mr. Christie also suggested that the governing party will be ready to launch a very effective campaign whenever the general election is called, adding that the party is of the view that, quote, people are going to make a good choice if there is compelling evidence for them to support the Progressive Liberal Party, end quote. Mr. Christie also said he feels that the success of the PLP's National Convention will, quote, cause more people to get registered, end quote. The Christie administration has agreed to approve between 400 and 500 work permits in addition to the transfer of existing work permit holders from Bahar Mar to Strategic Property Holding Limited and New World One Bay Street Limited, developers of the Point, to facilitate the phased completion of the $200 million Bay Street project. The government, according to the development's heads of agreement, will also grant 75 work permits for jobs requiring special skills and expertise where the developers feel Bahamians are not available. While it is understood that the overall Bahamian to non-Bahamian labor ratio will represent 70% of the total workforce, the document said the government and the developers, through mutual agreement, may decide to vary the employment ratio if it becomes necessary for earlier completion. According to the agreement dated June 18, 2015, the government has also agreed to spend $1.5 million over a 3-year period to promote the Point under an arrangement that is to be concluded by developers and by the Ministry of Tourism. It is further noted that a completion date of April 1, 2017 is expected. However, in the event that the developer is unable to complete the components of the project, then the government is at liberty to proportionately reduce concessions, incentives, and benefits enjoyed by the developer. But if the government is at fault for the delay, the date is to be extended beyond the first day of April by the amount of time that elapsed between the third quarter of 2015 and the actual date by which the developer is able to commence its obligations. The document revealing the agreement was tabled in the House of Assembly by State Minister of Investments Kailash Roll nearly 1 year after construction on the development began, and amid repeated calls by numerous opposition MPs for it to be made public, with the number of work permit holders and concessions chief among concerning factors. The point is subject to all concessions permitted to hotels under the Hotels Encouragement Act as it relates to the development. The point is also responsible for the costs and fees associated with the environmental impact assessment and the preservation of antiquities. The developers have agreed to provide approximately 200 jobs for Bahamians during the peak of construction and support approximately 500 permanent jobs upon completion. These jobs are in addition to the 277 employees presently employed at the existing hotel and Center of Commerce.
Prime Minister Perry Christie this week denounced a claim by a reported American expert on terrorism that the Bahamas has terrorism links, suggesting that this country's tremendous collaboration with U.S. law enforcement would have provided ample forewarning of such a threat had the claim been true.
The Prime Minister also referenced U.S. President Donald Trump's temporary ban on persons from 7 predominantly Muslim countries, saying that as a nation so close to the U.S. and a transit point, the Bahamas had to be on alert. Last Saturday, while speaking in opposition to President Trump's recent ban on citizens from 7 predominantly Muslim countries from entering the U.S. for 90 days on an MSNBC show hosted by Joyanne Reid, guest Malcolm Nance said, and I quote, "We have not banned terrorists from Brazil. ISIS has dozens of members from Brazil or Trinidad or the Bahamas who have more terrorist members than any of those other countries," end quote. Mr. Nance has since apologized on Twitter for his remark and admitted the statement was erroneous. However, Foreign Affairs and Immigration Minister Fred Mitchell subsequently hit out at the claim, telling ZNS News last Saturday that the remarks were rubbish. Mr. Mitchell also indicated that the Bahamas mission to the United States has been asked to reach out to U.S. counterparts, to MSNBC, and Mr. Nance himself to find out what the source of the allegation was. When asked for his take on the matter this week by the Tribune, Mr. Christie said, and I quote, "I was astonished by it. In the region, we have heard from time to time of the people going to the Middle East in connection with the fighting going on there, but never have Bahamians been named as being a part of that. And so I was astonished to hear the claims, and I was very pleased to see that it is being reversed, because it is not true. We would have known, and I'm sure our law enforcement officers would have been made aware of it, because there is tremendous collaboration between the law enforcement agencies in the United States of America and the Bahamas, and there would have been a great sharing of intelligence in that regard, and we would have known. So I'm relieved that it is not true, and therefore every effort be made to convince the people that Bahamians are not that kind of grouping who have been attracted to do those sorts of things," end quote. Mr. Christie went on to say that though Mr. Nance's statements were incorrect, the Bahamas, quote, "has to be mindful of the fact that we are the closest offshore country to the United States of America," end quote, particularly when dealing with matters of national security. A 7th grade male student of A.F. Adderley Junior High School brought a gun on the school's temporary campus this week and was arrested by police. According to an official police report, officers went to a junior high school's temporary location off Tonic Williams-Darling Highway on Monday, where they allegedly uncovered the weapon on school premises. The gun reportedly did not have a firing pin and/or ammunition. One school official who did not want to be named said the student likely had the weapon, described as an old rusty gun, on him during a General Assembly on Monday morning. Education Director Lionel Sands told the Tribune that police took the gun and the student who had it away after another student told the teacher the boy had a weapon in his bag. Mr. Sands added that the standard process was followed in responding to the situation, adding that the student in question will be kept away and given counseling once police have completed their investigations. Students were not sent home after the discovery of the gun, Mr. Sands said, although news of the matter appeared to spread widely on the school's campus. Since the incident, the school's staff members have had multiple meetings to become informed about what happened and to collectively determine how to increase school safety and security. Days later, a 12-year-old boy appeared in a magistrate's court facing a charge of possession of an unlicensed firearm in connection with the incident. The juvenile, who cannot be named as he is under 18, stood before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt with his parents and lawyer Ian Cargill to answer to an allegation that he was found with the illegal item on Monday, January 30th. There was contention on whether the minor could be granted bail given the nature of the offense and provisions of the Child Protection Act. Nonetheless, the Chief Magistrate was convinced that the Child Protection Act, the particulars of the offense, and the Bail Act allowed for the juvenile to get bail. As a result, the boy was released on a $1,000 bond and told that he would appear before a juvenile panel on February 20th. Following the initial incident, however, Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald said the onus for recent violent incidents on school campuses must fall on the wider society, further lamenting that officials have done everything they can to stop school violence. Nonetheless, Acting President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Joan Knowles Turnquest, has said that teachers at the school were very much shaken up over the incident. She later called for school administrators to enforce all of the school's rules, saying that teachers are fed up of being in fear of their lives being taken away while on the job.
Hundreds of hotel workers will be made redundant at the Memories Resort in Grand Bahama after the hotel's operator Sunwing and its landlord Hutchison Whampoa failed to reach an agreement over hurricane restoration at the beachfront resort in Lucaya.
In a statement issued this week, Sunwing said that it was required to vacate the Memories Resort premises on January 29th and is now making arrangements to pay out applicable redundancy pay for its employees in the coming days. Informed sources suggested the number of jobs to go was around 400. In January, Sunwing and the government had agreed to co-invest sums to restore the damaged Memories property for reopening. However, Sunwing reported that after it had, quote, sought consent by the hotel owners for restoration, regrettably the owner attempted to impose exorbitant conditions that were totally unacceptable to Sunwing, end quote. The Sunwing/Memories move would have come as little surprise to many in Freeport's tourism industry. Tribune Business was told earlier this week that the resort was moving furniture into shipping containers, with beach vendor and retail tenants also asked to remove their belongings from the property. However, in a glimmer of light for Freeport's tourism product, Sunwing confirmed that it would continue with its present air services to Grand Bahama, and it promised that it was working with the government to return as a hotel operator soon. In the immediate term, though, Freeport's tourism product has lost its main hotel. Together with the Grand Lucayan, which has only 200 rooms open, some 1,500 hotel rooms have been taken out of Grand Bahama's inventory. The resort's departure is also a major blow for the government, giving the timing just prior to a general election and coming swiftly on the heels of promises by Prime Minister Perry Christie and Minister of Tourism Obi Wilshcombe that $2.5 million in taxpayer monies had been released to advance repairs and get Memories open by May. Nonetheless, Mr. Wilshcombe told the Tribune that the government was locked in meetings this week seeking to bring a successful conclusion to negotiations with Hutchison Whampoa over the matter, adding that based on those talks, he believes there is room for a successful conclusion.
Want to get in on the discussion? Well, here's how you can. Just log on to our website, www.tribune242.com, like us on Facebook, Tribune News Network, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tribune242, or send us a tweet at Tribune242.